And the average retired American is receiving approximately $300,000 in health benefits. And the number of people entering the Medicare communities is occurring at a rate of about 11,000 per day. So there's the situation we're faced with. Medicare is a trust fund. It's not a poverty program. It's a defined benefit health care plan that people pay into with their taxes. You can't raise taxes on the rich, cut foreign aid, eliminate oil subsidies, and save Medicare. That doesn't work. Those arguments don't apply here. This is a trust fund. And the trustees, the majority of which I believe were appointed by our current president, have said that this program will be unable to pay benefits in the year 2024. Now, as the working population, people like me, 59, I'm with that problem, get to be 65, 60, 67, there's a huge number of us. The younger people, my son, being for one, are going to say, I have had it. I'm not going to bear this burden. I don't want that day to come, because I think seniors deserve health care, adequate health care. I think the Medicare program should be protected and preserved, not allowed to go bankrupt. We have put an idea on the table. Where are the other ideas? Let's hear them. We're waiting. Thank you for your work. Yes, sir, at the back. Going across the room.
Yeah, my name is Tom. I'm a business owner, also a chemical nuclear and plastics engineer. You still serve on the energy?
Yes.
Ranking member of the energy subcommittee?
Well, no, I'm not the ranking member. I wish I was, but I'm a member.
All respect to this one here, I have to let you know that as a freshman chemical engineer, we learned that the #1 global warming gas is water vapor. Okay, that overwhelms CO2 by at least a couple orders of magnitude. We also learned that CO2 is something that plants like. In other words, for photosynthesis, plants like CO2. So out of all respect, I think from what I've looked into, this is a total sham, all based on emotion. And those that follow it have very little knowledge of the science behind it, much like Al Gore's D in environmental sciences or whatever airports and took the market. These people have very little knowledge of what they're doing. A lot of work behind them is a huge amount of money. And I was wondering what is really behind all this nonsense. I've dug into it and I found that these population control fanatics are really what's behind most of that. Like a lot of our problems nowadays, very wealthy, worldwide population control fanatics are behind us. The likes of Soros, I could go on and on, World Wildlife Fund, the big ears guy in the UK, who's been pushing that for 10, 20 years. This is a sham, and I'm ashamed that my representatives, people like you, aren't on top of things like this. And I know you know about it. You know, it comes across you all the time. But the heart of the matter is, I want to get this. Many of my residents in New Hampshire don't realize that most of our power comes from nuclear. And I learned recently that our Energy Secretary Chu, and I guess the President right now, Washington, is catering to Merkel, Chancellor Merkel, is an anti-nuclear fanatic. They want to shut down every nuclear plant in Germany. And the President is looking at doing the same thing here. Apparently Chu has ignored Yucca Mountain completely. There's all the technical people involved with that are telling us that it's up and ready to run. We have a solution to our nuclear waste problem in the dry, desert conditions of Yucca Mountain. What I want to know is, in light of what's going on in Massachusetts, we got a British company, National Grid, who's focusing the whole state on solar and windmills way into the future, and their energy rates are going through the roof with that. Are we going to have the same kind of insane policy here in New Hampshire and get rid of our nuclear?
Well, first of all, the answer is no. There's no effort that I'm aware of to de-license the secret plant, Vernon plant. These Vermont Yankees, not New Hampshire. And that nuclear plant continuing existence is going to be settled by the court because of the dispute that they're having with the state of Vermont over their license. With respect to Yucca Mountain, it's funny you bring that up. Last week we had a hearing in my committee on Yucca Mountain. And I felt sorry for the guy from the Department of Energy and Science that had to come up. And I have notes in my notebook here on it. The Yucca Mountain has been supported by Republicans and Democrats in 2 or 3 different administrations. We've spent something on the order of $10 or $11 billion from funds that have supposedly been set aside to build it, and yet it's 98% complete, it's being shuttered. The poor guy from the Department of Energy had the Nuclear Waste Disposal Act only allows for the closing of the prospective site based upon its, quote, suitability for storing waste. And the issue of suitability, unfortunately for the DOE, was settled long ago. So they came up with a new term that's not in the law called workability. And they're trying to justify on that basis and social instability in the region associated with the project. I don't know what that means either. And the real answer, of course, is Harry Reid. And it's unfortunate that this kind of thing happens, but the facility is still there. It will still work someday. It's just that the characters that are making the decisions have to change. Appreciate your comments on the other side. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Congressman Hunt, thank you for coming tonight. I'm sorry the acoustics are whatever they are. Can you hear me all right?
I can.
Okay, thank you. I have to go to the one of the gentlemen and the lady up here. I respect that you said that everything should be on the table, and it sounds like you'd like to encourage us all to work together. I just don't see that we are working all together, because I'll tell you, it's a bee in my bonnet when I read the General Electric just didn't pay their taxes, have a multi-thousand-page tax return document, and have some 900 tax attorneys that can be on their staff. That's a summary of what I read in a New York Times a while back. So I want to do my fair share, but damn it, I just don't think that some of these big ones that and I know when you do the numbers, that this bunch doesn't pay any taxes, and these are paying about, I just don't see it that they really are doing their fair share. So let me go right to the Ryan plan. New to Medicare, what to do? And I thought, all right, I made it, this is good, and I'm going to make it for another few years. But I was so, I can't even quite think of the word, I guess, speechless when I realized that I have a brother who's 51 years old, and of course our grown adult children, that if this all moves forward, there will be a Medicare. I can accept in all candor that there could be and should be, quite likely has to be changes to Medicare. But to think that there is a plan out there floating around where the whole program could just get poof in 10 years is horrible for me. I would like to know that my children and their little kids can come along. So it looks like we need a lot more jobs. So looking at these General Electric and all these other people out there with their tax write-offs, whatever, let's get some jobs going. Let's put everything on the table. Tax revenue as well as expenditures coming in. And I do have a question.
I'm having trouble remembering all of
I know. I don't know where I'm going. Did you sign, or are your colleagues all signing on, or have you signed on with Milford Norquist, and that no way, no how, no taxes, they don't care what's going on? Did you sign a pledge?
Yes.
Can I ask why? I'd like an explanation.
Actually, I've signed it every single year that I've been there. But in reference to your General Electric issue, there's nothing that says that we cannot reduce tax loopholes and broaden the tax base so that everybody, including General Electric, has to pay taxes. On the Medicare issue, nobody has suggested that Medicare is going to be gone. In fact, the only way that Medicare would be gone for your children, or whoever you reference, is if we do nothing. And I know that's hard to believe, but in the end, and the Obama administration has recognized this too, because they put some provisions into the new health care law that affect Medicare, and in the same, not the same manner, but the same result. If we do nothing, then there is an impact. I appreciate the fact that you recognize that it won't impact you at all, or anybody, assuming if you're recently on Medicare, I know how old you are, anybody who's up to 10 years younger than you are. But it is these younger people that we're trying to address their issues. They are the ones that are going to be rebelling if we do nothing. Because not only will they not get Medicare, but they won't want to pay for all the people that are getting it. And by the way, I'll mention one other thing. Since the Medicare suggestions in the budget don't take effect for 10 years, they don't save money in the budget either. It was brought up to, it was added to the budget to bring up this debate and get it going. So I say to you, if you are willing to accept the fact that doing nothing is not an option, again, sorry for the double negative, then take out a piece of paper and write down what you would do to come up with the trillions of dollars that we need in order to make this program survive so that your children will have access to it.
I think I tried to get out of Afghanistan a little quicker.
Okay, fair enough, and I voted to do that last week. Go ahead.
Well, Charlie, I mean, it's from the Amherst, and speaking about Medicare and also Social Security, which was referenced earlier, everyone paying those types of payroll taxes, and sending our hard-earned dollars to Washington to go into those trust funds. How much actual cash is in those trust funds?
None.
And what happened to the cash I sent, you sent into those trust funds?
Since 1965, they've been converted into non-negotiable treasury bills.
So they're really items.
That's correct. And starting in March of this year, the Social Security Administration is starting to redeem some of those in order to make cash payments. So over the next, unless the economy changes very quickly, those non-redeemable treasury bills will be converted into cash to pay benefits. They do not contribute to the length of time between now and the point when Social Security runs out of money, but what they do contribute to is the amount of money that the Federal Reserve has to monetize in order to make payments to retirees, which could potentially have a significant impact on inflation. Sorry to give you such a geeky answer, but that's...
When I am finally able to get my Medicare.
Are you talking Social Security or Medicare?
Well, Social Security. Okay. The money that comes to me, the federal government will essentially have to borrow.
Well, no, they'll redeem the treasury bills
That cash will come from there.
Pardon me?
And that cash will come from there.
That cash will come from the sale of other treasury bills, which are negotiable to other people.
So in other words, they have to borrow.
That's right.
There is no money.
There's no cash. And Amy, look, I'm not defending that because I spent on September 10th, 2001, the day before 9/11, I was the third ranking member at the time of the House Budget Committee, and I was in the leadership office having a debate with leadership because the surplus in the budget we were getting ready to work on for the next year, maybe it was reconciliation, had a $155 billion surplus. But the Social Security Trust Fund was running a $160 billion surplus. And I wanted to set the standard of considering the budget to be balanced with Social Security off budget. So I have been a proponent of not counting Social Security receipts, or any of the trust fund receipts for that matter, that are in surplus as part of the operating fund. That changed in 1965 when LBJ wanted to pay for guns and butter, and all the trust funds were put into the general fund. I think it was a mistake that we had this lockbox controversy and so forth. As you well know, the next day the world changed. Yes, sir.
Charlie, the largest public works project in the state of New Hampshire sits idle in Berlin. When is the Congress going to get around to getting that facility open and getting some jobs?
Oh, the prison. Okay, I was wondering which facility you were talking about. Because there are a lot of facilities
out there, they need jobs.
I'm working right now. In fact, I had a meeting with the chairman of the Energy, the Commerce State Justice Subcommittee